The level of cruelty exhibited by some individuals can be unbearable. Despite the trauma, she managed to survive, and she is now determined to seek revenge. The setting is Tasmania in the year 1825, during the Black War. Claire Carroll resides with her spouse, Aidan, and their daughter, who is known as Nightingale due to her exceptional vocal abilities. During a military visit, Claire performed for the soldiers in the hopes of gaining her freedom after being convicted of a crime. However, Lieutenant Hawkins made inappropriate advances towards her, which she rebuffed, leading to him assaulting her. Upon returning home, the young woman attempts to conceal the assault from her husband. However, upon discovering that the release papers are still not signed, Aidan decides to confront Lieutenant Hawkins personally the following morning. With bated breath, the girl observes as her spouse and the lieutenant leave for a discussion. Shortly thereafter, Aidan returns to work, indicating to his wife that the discussion did not go well, and Hawkins was inebriated. In a fit of rage, Aidan confronts Hawkins at a local tavern. During their altercation, Commander-in-Chief Goodwin witnesses the event and summons Hawkins to his office, where he reprimands him for his behavior and informs him that he will not receive a recommendation for the rank of captain. Following their conversation, the infuriated lieutenant sets his sights on paying a visit to the Carroll family. In Lieutenant Hawkins' perspective, the young family was responsible for his failures. He enlists Sergeant Ruse and Ensign Jago to join him in breaking into their home to cause both harm and agony. Hawkins forcefully takes possession of Claire in front of her husband, kills him, and instructs Ruse to use the woman. Unable to tolerate the child's cries, Jago brutally murders the young child by slamming their head against a door. As the reality of their heinous acts sets in, the lieutenant commands Jago to dispose of Claire. However, lacking the fortitude to shoot her, Jago strikes her with the butt of his weapon. Claire is left to gaze upon the bodies of her deceased husband and daughter with horror. A sorrowful woman seeks out the commandant's office, only to be met with disdain due to the military's reluctance to reveal the fact that soldiers are capable of murdering innocent individuals. After discovering that Lieutenant Hawkins has relocated to a new position up north, Claire requests her friends to bury her loved ones without delay. She embarks on a journey in pursuit of the perpetrators and enlists the aid of a guide named Billy to assist her. During a stop, the soldiers discuss the events that have unfolded, prompting Jago to express his concerns about the potential legal consequences of their actions. In the meantime, Claire and Billy also make a stop for the night. However, as soon as Claire closes her eyes, the cries of her deceased child begin to haunt her dreams, depriving her of sleep throughout the night. The following morning, heavy rainfall commences, but the duo persists with their journey. Meanwhile, Sergeant Ruse stumbles upon a woman of color and her young daughter in the forest. He drags the hapless woman to his camp and abandons her child. Hawkins orders the woman to be bound to the cart in preparation for their departure. Billy leads Claire to a nearby river, which has a swift current. Although crossing the river would significantly shorten their route, it poses a great risk. Despite the danger, Claire determinedly guides the horse into the water, but the strong current throws her off the saddle. Billy manages to bring the horse to shore and saves himself from the current, but Claire is swept away by the stream. Observing Claire's distress, Billy rushes to her rescue. After a brief rest, they continue their journey, crossing the river. However, they lose a bag of supplies along the way. Later, while preparing for bed, Claire spots an unfamiliar man. He expresses his delight at finding a pretty girl lost in the woods and calls his friends to join in on the fun. However, Billy knocks the man unconscious, and he and Claire hastily depart. In the meantime, Hawkins takes advantage of the captive dark-skinned woman to satisfy his desires. After passing her off to Ruse, he has a conversation with Eddie, a boy who has lost his parents and is now looking for a way to survive by helping the army. As Claire dozes off, she wakes up to see Billy making a spear to hunt for food. Meanwhile, Hawkins and his squad are ambushed by a group of dark-skinned men. One worker is killed, and Jack is injured. The attackers demand the return of their woman, but Hawkins kills her and takes their supplies. The soldiers flee into the forest, scared and wounded. Anson wanders through the woods and sees people. Heeding the woman's call for help, Claire leaves Billy to tend to the horse and pursues Jagger, the man responsible for killing her daughter. She catches up to him and shoots him, but when the gun jams, she fights him with her fists and ultimately kills him with a knife and the butt of the gun. Witnessing this brutal act, Billy initially plans to leave, but agrees to show her the way after learning the truth. Eventually, they come across a wagon that the soldiers abandoned after encountering a group of dark-skinned fighters. Billy tries to warn Claire about the dangers ahead, but she is determined to continue. During the night, Claire is plagued by chest pain as she is unable to breastfeed her child. She loses consciousness and falls into a ravine, where Billy performs a ritual to help her recover. After leaving Claire to rest, Billy goes hunting and they finally have a proper meal. Meanwhile, Charlie, a member of Hawkins' squad, leads them to a dead end as an act of revenge for the atrocities committed by the military against their people. The lieutenant is willing to do anything to find a way out. The old man declines their request, but without hesitation, Sergeant Ruse shoots him, earning a rebuke from the lieutenant for killing the only person who could guide them out. A day later, Hawkins ridicules Ruse and hands over his gun to the young boy Eddie, promoting him to sergeant. With only 4 of them left and dwindling supplies, they remain lost and unsure of the direction to the city. Meanwhile, Claire and Billy discover Charlie's body, give him a proper burial, and set out for revenge. However, Hawkins spots Claire and shoots her before she can retaliate. Injured, Claire flees while Billy fetches the horse. When he returns, he comes face to face with Hawkins and his squad. The soldiers assault Billy and coerce him into guiding them to the city. However, he signals to Claire with bird calls to help her stay on track. Despite this, the lieutenant continues to target Claire throughout the night, shooting at her multiple times. She wanders through the forest, tormented by the traumatic events of the past. The following morning, Claire spots the blackbird that Billy had mentioned and follows it. Eventually, she reaches a main road where she encounters a married couple who inform her that she is on the right path to the city. As luck would have it, a passing carriage stops and the lady inside offers to give Claire a ride. At a certain moment, Billy emerges from the forest and catches Claire's attention. She quickly jumps off the carriage and runs towards him, sensing that the end of Hawkins' squad is near. Together, they continue their journey and come across a house on the outskirts. The owners, without any choice, allow them inside where they stock up on food and clean clothes. Along the way, they come across a group of men leading black people, and Claire pretends to lead Billy as a captive to avoid reprisals. A few miles later, they are approached by an elderly couple in a cart who invite them to rest and have dinner at their place. An elderly man warmly invites both Claire and Billy to join him at the table, which fills the girl with joy. The next morning, however, Billy unexpectedly breaks down in tears. The couple is then given a ride into town by Harriet, but they are met with Hawkins, who accuses Claire of attempted murder and sends for the constable. Furious, Claire tells Billy to return to their hideout while she follows Hawkins to the tavern to confront him in front of his fellow officers. She pours out her anger and frustration towards Hawkins. In response, he strikes her across the face, but Claire responds by looking him straight in the eye and singing. After the song ends, she abruptly leaves the tavern. Billy helps Claire onto a horse and they ride out of town. When Claire wakes up and realizes Billy is gone, she decides to continue on to the city. There, she spots Billy, who has painted himself with the colors of his tribe, sneaking into Hawkins' room. He stabs the bastard with a spear, and despite being shot by Russ, he manages to defeat the second attacker. The couple rides through the night, eventually arriving at the riverbank where Billy sits down on the sand and takes his last breath. As the sun rises, Claire sings a final song, feeling a sense of closure knowing that all those who wronged her have been punished, and what happens to her from now on no longer matters. Thank you for watching our recap of the movie The Nightingale. Subscribe for more.